Are you planning a move from the DMV, Maryland, Virginia, or the DC area, and you're looking to move to Colorado? Well, you are in the right place. Stick around. Hey everybody, I am Alyson Wahl with Live South Denver. I am a real estate strategist and realtor, and I help people make their move to and in South Denver. So if you're considering a move to Colorado, the big question on the docket is, what is life like in Colorado, particularly compared to the fast-paced life in the Washington, D.C. suburbs, right? So in this video, I'll let you hear from the mouths of transplants themselves. We'll talk a little bit about cost of living and then what it is people love about Colorado. And before the video is over, go to the bottom in the description box and grab your free South Denver relocation guide. So what is it that is bringing on-the-go DMVers to the Denver area? From what I can tell, it's the change of pace and quality of life. Here is what some transplants have to say about life in Colorado. No humidity, no hurricanes. I moved here from Maryland. There's way less traffic. People are generally friendlier. Energy costs are lower. The weather is prettier in the warmer months. The beer available is much more varied. I like that there is a lot of open space around. I like that the streets are bigger and less confusing than in older parts of DC, Maryland, and Virginia. I like that some of the suburbs have a walkable, small-town feeling downtown area. I lived in Maryland for 30 years. Don't miss traffic and bugs. The majority of people living in that area are miserable. Are you? Because they basically just exist to work. I personally hated living in Northern Virginia and couldn't have gotten out of there fast enough. I hope this person's happy here. I am looking forward to living here until I retire. We've been here 2.5 years and feel this move was one of the greatest decisions we ever made. Born and raised for 38 years in Nova, I love the scenic variety in hikes, number of public paths and trails, lower cost of living, though housing cost isn't much less, this person says, and most of all, I love there's less traffic here in Denver. Driving in the DC area is far more stressful. There is no small town feel anywhere in that area, nowhere. Here, in some of our suburbs, in my opinion, there still is. I do not miss the bugs, humidity, or traffic. Colorado is far more outdoorsy and far more beautiful. I feel Colorado has far less crime and is far safer. The DC area is more uptight, while Colorado is more casual and laid back. Seems Colorado has put at least a few people back in what feels like their right mind. So one of the things that came up a few times was a sense of small town feel and connection. At the end of this video, I'll post some additional videos and you can check out some of the places these folks were chatting about. Now, weather, humidity, and hurricanes came up. You are definitely not going to find hurricanes in Denver, but let's chat about the weather here in Colorado. Is Denver's weather really that much dreamier than that in the DC area? Denver's annual average high in the winter is about 49 degrees. Our low in the winter is about 20. From June to September, the peak of summer, our average highs are in the 80s to 90s, and our lows at night are in the 50s to the 60s. Now in DC, your winter temps are in the 30s and 40s, and your summertime temps are also in the 80s or the 90s. So we don't sound that different, but we know the difference really comes down to humidity. So the Denver humidity averages around 30%. We're 30% in the summer and 40% in the winter, whereas the average humidity in the DC area is at 60%. And for those of you who have been there a while know it gets much higher than that on a regular basis. All right, let's dish on the snow. I know that if there's even a mention of snow out there, that the schools are usually shut down, along with most office buildings and the roads if they can help it. That is not the case out here. We do get snow most months of the year. Snow starts usually in the Denver area in October and extends almost till May. We consistently get snow in April. We sometimes get snow in May. We abide by the rule of not planting our flowers until after Mother's Day weekend. But our snow doesn't usually come with ice, unlike what you see over where you are on the East Coast. So it makes driving in our snow not nearly as hard nor as dangerous, and With our 300 days of sunshine, the snow we do get melts off sometimes within hours and definitely within a day or two, even with the biggest of storms. Maybe part of the reason you're coming to Denver is to cut down on expenses from the DC area. Any number of the suburbs around DC show up as extremely expensive in comparison to the Denver area. Let's take a look at just a handful to get a taste of what cost of living really looks like for you if you make a move to Denver. For your reference, if you want to do your own research, I use bestplaces.net and wallethub.com when I'm doing cost of living research. All right, if we're looking at Alexandria, Annandale, and the Fairfax area, if you were to have a Denver salary of $110,000, you would need to increase that to about $128,000 to live in any of those suburbs in the DC area. That makes those areas about 18% more expensive, and the housing there is about 30% more expensive than it is here in Denver. What if you're living in McLean? Well, a Denver salary of $110,000 would need to be $180,000. That makes McLean about 60% more expensive overall, and housing is about 117% more expensive. What about Falls Church? Okay, a Denver salary of $110,000 would need to be about $132,000 in the Falls Church area. That makes Falls Church about 25% more expensive than Denver, with housing being 33% more expensive than it is here in the Denver market. What if you're in the North Potomac neighborhood? A Denver salary of $110,000 would need to be about $140,000 in North Potomac, making that area about 25% more expensive, with housing being about 40% more expensive. For Rockville, Maryland, a Denver salary of $110,000 would need to be nearly $125,000 there, making that area about 12% more expensive, with housing being about 17% more expensive. What about the South Kensington neighborhood? $110,000 from Denver would need to be $135,000 in South Kensington, making that area about 30% more expensive overall, with housing being about 60% more expensive than here in Denver. I will say a few incoming transplants didn't feel that the housing costs were that much different here compared to where they were in the DMV suburb areas. But I had an outgoing client who sold a home here and headed over there. They bought a house in the Fairfax area and they had to increase their budget by about 50% to have a home that worked for them. So I think while there may be some differences depending on what you are coming from and what you're looking for, overall, I think you're going to find that the Denver market is most certainly in your favor. Let's take a quick touch on property taxes. The effective property tax rate in Colorado is 0.53% of assessed value. Now, in the South Denver area, you'll find that it's much closer to 1% of what you pay for your home price. Now, if you're in some areas, it might be a smidge more, and if you're lucky, you'll get into an older established neighborhood where it is about half of that. But here's an example. If a home that you purchase is $500,000, anticipate paying pretty close to $5,000 in property taxes. So what is it that Denver has going for it that's bringing so many transplants here? There are a lot of great and beautiful places around the US that have a fantastic quality of life at a moderate pace. Why are people wanting Denver? One reason is our great job market. We have the Denver Tech Center. We've got a great tech hub right in downtown Denver. Not to mention Boulder and Colorado Springs are top tech hubs as well. You have the Dulles Tech Corridor, so you know how important these tech hubs are. In addition, we are a top aerospace industry state as well. Just these two industries alone mean we have top-notch salaries and a highly educated population. We're centrally located. That may be very obvious, but especially for those who can work remotely, when you travel in and out of the country and across the country, our airport makes it very convenient to get where you need quickly. People love our vibe. Denver isn't too fast, it isn't too slow, we don't have too much traffic, we probably wish we had less. We don't run at the speed of politics, but we definitely aren't as slow as molasses around here. And we have an up-and-coming music scene that is rivaling Austin and getting write-ups in the Rolling Stone magazine. Tack on great food, world-class beers, and friendly people, and this is just a really likable place. How about no bugs? You heard it mentioned from other transplants. No bugs is probably a slight exaggeration, but I grew up on the East Coast, so I have to tell you that's how I feel about it. We have bees, we have wasps, Some years we have mosquitoes in noticeable quantities and I'll get the occasional bug bite, but nothing like when I was growing up. We do have spiders. I will say you usually have to spray for those to keep them at bay. And we do not have fireflies or lightning bugs. So for those of you who love them, you will not find them here. But other than that, we just don't really have bugs here. It's been mentioned before, but traffic here is absolutely not as bad as in the DC area. Hands down, no questions asked. At least not when you're commuting in and out of downtown. The one time I do not make any promises is when you're heading to the mountains, particularly on a popular weekend. You can absolutely sit in traffic at a near standstill for an hour and maybe have moved 1 mile. And we have great neighborhoods with trails, rec centers, community pools, food trucks, community movie nights, and friendly people. And the thing that really brings people here to Colorado, the amazing lifestyle and the quick access to our stunning nature. The biking, the rock climbing, the jogging, the paddleboarding, the hiking, and the leaf peeping all right out your back door. Plus the skiing, the snowshoeing, and the rafting just a short drive away. And if you're coming with kids and they want to be skiers or they want to improve their skiing, be sure to check out the Epic School Kids Ski Pass. It gets your kids in K through 5th grade 4 days of skiing at 5 resorts for free. All right, do you have any lingering doubts about what you might miss if you leave the DMV area? Well, here's what some of the transplants had to say about that. Far and away, the #1 most missed thing: crabs by the bay with beer. There's no way you can replicate that here. I wish we could. I love it too. But you are just gonna have to travel back, visit friends, and get your grub on when you are back on the coast. Next was the greenery. We have trees here, but nothing like back east where all the humidity gives for lush trees, lots of shrubs, long growing season, beautiful flowers. And third, the ocean. If moving to Denver is on your wish list or in your plans, give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email. I would be more than happy to connect with you and answer your questions. It would be an honor to serve you. Hey, I'll see y'all next week.